$25 million. That's the bond set for the woman accused of fatally stabbing her manager at the Eastpointe McDonald's.
One of the things that's really scary about our society, about the systems that we built in order to protect the law-abiding, is just how vulnerable those systems are, just how unsecure those systems are, and this particular case is a perfect representation of that idea coming to fruition, because as you just heard right here, they ended up putting a $25 million bond on this suspect that works at McDonald's and is accused of fatally stabbing her manager at said McDonald's. However, they discovered throughout the course of her initial court hearing that it's not even the first time that this woman stabbed an individual.
Brandon Hudson, the 26-year-old, made her first court appearance today, and we learned this isn't the first time investigators say that she stabbed someone.
So, of course, this brings up the question that we often ask on this channel, which is, had they taken that previous case with the seriousness it deserves, would this woman have been able to commit this crime and kill someone? And unfortunately, when I examine the facts of this case, it appears that that happens to be a possibility. Now, we're going to get into this. We're going to break this down. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
26-year-old Afeni Muhammad in court Friday afternoon, charged with first-degree murder. Eastpointe police say Muhammad fatally stabbed her manager, 39-year-old Jennifer Harris, inside the McDonald's where they both worked on 9 Mile Thursday morning.
So look, I'm totally in favor of holding people pre-trial that present themselves as a consistent, ongoing threat to society, but in reality, the $25 million bond, in my opinion, is just a bit excessive. And the reason why is because you should, as a judge, have the option to hold somebody without bail. We know that this woman who works at McDonald's doesn't have $25 million. So to me, you might as well either say a billion, cajillion, million, zillion dollars, or in this particular case, what you should actually do is say that you are remanding her to custody and not giving her the option to post bail at all. But instead, we get this weird $25 million number, even though this person appears to be motivated by something incredibly petty that obviously shows her to be a serious, ongoing threat to society. She doesn't appear to have remorse for this. It seems likely she'll do this again and or run, but for whatever reason, we get the $25 million number, which just seems a bit excessive.
Prior to the stabbing, Muhammad was sent home by Harris for not performing her work duties and told Harris, "I'll be back."
2 days before the stabbing, Muhammad posted a video on her Instagram, which is public. This is a small portion of that video.
But to get sent home 2 days in a row, man, and I came in on my off day to make up my time, and she still sends me home early, it's not funny. Somebody will have to do something about that. It's not funny.
Now look, obviously we are dealing with somebody who seems completely unhinged, and we're also dealing with a criminal who is incredibly stupid, who is unbelievably stupid. And I just want you guys to take note of the fact that this woman seems to lack any kind of intelligence, any kind of ability to reason. Whenever we cover a story and I give you a certain set of facts and you think, I wouldn't do that, that doesn't make any sense, that's not logical, because oftentimes criminals are completely illogical. Like, what kind of an idiot rants on a public Facebook post that anybody can see about how somebody's got to do something, how she's mad at this manager, my entire motivation, and me basically calling my shot, and then ultimately executes the crime? Like, it's one thing to issue this dumbass threat to do this rant and whatnot, and then not actually follow through, but obviously she does not have the impulse control necessary to not commit this crime. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why this is premeditated murder. This was not in the heat of the moment after being sent home early the first time or even the second time. This was her planning and fuming and basically simmering on this murder plot. Again, if she is in fact the stabber, but it seems like the evidence is overwhelming, and then committing the crime, then stabbing her manager, who, by the way, probably should have fired her. And by the way, these kind of people working and shopping at this McDonald's are the reason why we see bulletproof glass all over McDonald's in the city of Detroit.
Investigators say the suspect stabbed Harris several times inside the drive-thru portion of the fast food restaurant. A customer, a CPL holder, was in his car and witnessed the crime. Authorities say he shot his gun in the air, attempting to stop the violence. When the suspect ran out of the restaurant, the CPL holder held her at at gunpoint until police arrived.
Again, we say allegedly on this channel for all these different various crimes because that is the technically correct term whenever we're referring to somebody who isn't convicted. But I don't know how much more of a slam dunk case you have if you're the Detroit police than this possible crime. You have a witness to the crime. The witness held the suspect at gunpoint right after the crime. You have all the surveillance cameras that McDonald's has. You have this woman posting her motivation on social media days prior. You have a direct connection between the killer and the victim. Basically everything you would possibly need in order to ensure a slam dunk conviction. And again, it is all rooted in the absolute stupidity of this particular criminal, and of course the total lack of control of her emotions, the total lack of reasoning, and the absolute clear and apparent danger she presents to society, and she publicly just brags about presenting to society.
Muhammad admitted that she intended to kill Harris and stated that after she was sent home, she drove to a nearby park, decided to come back and stab Harris with a knife that she had inside of her vehicle.
Yeah, did I also forget to mention that she admitted to the crime? I mean, she was already caught dead to rights. She was already held at the scene immediately following the crime and then arrested by the police. She already had everything to set up her motivation, made it public. It's available on social media. But then, in addition to all of that, when interrogated by the police, she admitted to her motivation and committing the crime, and that she made a premeditated decision to go back to the McDonald's for the purpose of stabbing this woman, killing her, again, over the pettiest of stupid disputes.
Harris, a single mother of 6 and a longtime McDonald's employee, was pronounced deceased at a nearby hospital.
Now look, obviously this portion of the local news segment gets to me because we have a single mother in this particular case. She's working at McDonald's, worked her way up to manager. She shouldn't have to lose her connection with her kids. They shouldn't have to go without the one parent that they have left. But of course, we hear about the 6 kids that lost their mother in this senseless attack, all because this absolute monster was angry that she was sent home early a couple of days in a row. And then, based on her attitude, she was sent home early when she tried to make up those hours, which again should be a red flag that maybe there's something wrong with you. But obviously this criminal has no ability to self-reflect. This criminal has no morals, no ethical code. So in order to get her petty, stupid revenge, she ended up depriving 6 children of their caretaker. Again, for what? For nothing.
Meanwhile, the prosecutor revealing this in court about Muhammad.
The defendant does have a prior instance of at least one that I'm aware that involved a stabbing, similar obviously to the stabbing that occurred in this case involving a knife.
Now we hear about that prior incident involving a stabbing that dates back to Virginia, so maybe under Virginia law there was absolutely nothing that they could have done in order to prevent this woman from being released back on the streets. But of course it shows that her conflict resolution skills begin and end with a knife. And by the way, the prosecutor very awkward in her delivery of that, where she's like, this stabbing very similar to this one in that the stabbing involved a knife, which again, absurd. Like obviously it involved a knife or some kind of bladed weapon. That is not the connection you want to make. But of course the defense attorney for this woman, who has a very tall order, might I add, decided to try to give context to that particular event, and you can determine whether or not this was enough to get this woman off the streets.
That prior stabbing occurred in Virginia. Muhammad's attorney arguing
she was in an extremely abusive relationship that was not only mental but physical, that involved alcohol issues, which is where the habitual second stems from, and her prior record.
Now look, obviously I have no idea if that previous stabbing was in response to domestic violence, but of course the defense attorney is throwing anything and everything out in his client's defense, as he should. It is in fact his job, including an alcohol problem, domestic abuse, anything and everything in order to mitigate this case. But the fact is, even if it was believed at the time that she pulled the knife on whatever that person was due to domestic violence, I think some recontextualization premeditation is something that we should consider based on the idea that she very likely, according to overwhelming evidence, just stabbed somebody over a petty dispute. And of course, this is a woman that would likely easily lie about that in the previous instance, trying to throw it on the other person, much in the same way that in her Instagram video, she blames this woman for everything and has no regard for her human life.
The judge set Mohammed's bond at $25 million cash surety only. She will be back in court on July 23rd for a probable cause hearing.
So again, we don't know if the Virginia case could have been handled differently, but it is really unfortunate and really monstrous. And again, I don't want this story marred by the fact that the judge set a $25 million bond. The judge could have just held this person without any prospect of bond, because that seems excessive, and it seems like in some weird twisted way this woman could end up getting sympathy from a bunch of people that think that the criminal justice system was too unfair to her because she was just an innocent Beba Angel Aladdin who's doing a minimum wage job that just had to stab her manager in order to feed her starving family. She had to make sure her manager can't feed her 6 kids in order for her to protect her starving family. But again, those are just my thoughts related to this particular case. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about madness in Detroit. Till next time.